Welcome to Lawyers Without Billboards, where we break down family law and other areas of the law. No gimmicks, no legal jargon, just real, unfiltered talk from real lawyers. Join your hosts, Steve, Patty, Jimmy, and Alexa, partners at Shewmaker Lewis, a law firm based in Atlanta, Georgia. Every episode, they tackle the legal questions that matter most: divorce, custody, child support, alimony, and everything in between. They'll pull back the curtain to give you real insights on what happens inside the courtroom and beyond.
Good morning, everybody. Shewmaker and Lewis, Lawyers Without Billboards. We're back on August the 9th with an exciting episode. Let me tell you what, we have a guy here today with us. He stole his sports coat from Randy Kessler, but that's okay. This is Andy Flink, otherwise known as Flink Daddy, the Flinkster, the Sultan of Flinkiness. In
Flink
fact,
man. The Flink man.
The Facebook page for family law attorneys, the Family Law Attorney Network, is being renamed as we speak to the Flink Appreciation Network. Andy Flink.
The Flinkmeister.
Take it away, Jimmy. Boom.
All right, so Andy Flink,
The Flinkster.
world-renowned as one of the best mediators in the state.
Flink
Tell
Daddy.
us a little bit about yourself and Flink ADR.
Well, I started out mediating cases about 20 years ago. It was actually subsequent to a divorce of my own because I felt that
Why did you decide to start doing mediation?
Well, I felt like the process that I went through was so inefficient that I had to be able to add some sort of value to the process. So, I was a former retailer. I have a banking and finance degree from 100 years ago.
Retailer, you worked at the Gap?
What's that?
Nothing, go ahead.
He was great at folding the shirts.
I was very good. I'm actually still very good at folding
That's a
shirts,
true
by the way.
skill.
Just in case you want to know.
Okay, you know to lay it in, like, fold in the
You
sleeves.
got to air fold, but I don't want to get off topic.
Too
So
late.
I went through that process. I felt it was somewhat inefficient. Jim McGinnis handed me a copy of the
Go,
Daily
Jim's a
Report
great guy.
and said, "Here, if you want to do something in this business, take a look at this publication."
Let me stop you there. How did you know, how did you know or meet Jim McGinnis?
Well, I think I interviewed Jim when I was going through the process.
As
And he
an
was one of the
attorney.
lawyers. Yeah, he was one of the lawyers that I was that I had.
I've mentioned on a
consulted
previous
with.
episode, I'll go as far as to say that I am a family law attorney because of Jim McGinnis.
Is that right?
Period. Yeah, go ahead.
Well, I have the utmost respect for him. He handed me a copy of the Daily Report. I was looking through it. I saw mediation training. I said, this sounds interesting.
Mm-hmm.
So I did the civil training. I didn't know who was going to be in the class. It turned out that there were former, marketing executives,
Yep.
trial lawyers, a lot of professional people that I had no idea would be in there.
Mm-hmm.
So it piqued my interest. I did the civil. I liked it. I did the domestic. I liked that too. And then my big break was getting on the roster or getting accepted on the roster in Cobb County Magistrate Court.
Mm-hmm.
And they agreed to pay me $25 a day.
A day?
A day. And I want to tell you something. I thought I'd hit the lottery when I got that first check for mediation services.
What year was this?
Oh, gosh, probably 2007, 8.
Wow.
Maybe before that.
Okay.
And then they wanted me to do, there were 3 of us that did all of the calendars, the morning and afternoon calendars in magistrate. And I did that for a while. And then my big break was getting on the roster in Fulton County back in the day when, there were cases that were referred to the ADR,
Lisa
to the
Jackson
ADR
days.
office, right, the Max Lisa Jackson
Yeah.
days. And I got down there in front of, some lawyers, and I have to give a shout out to Max Arachia as well, because Max
great
really
guy.
helped me.
Max is a wonderful guy.
Salt of the earth.
Really good guy.
And he would get a call, and they'd say, "Look, Max, I need a mediator for so-and-so." And he'd say, "Oh, do you know Andy Flink?" Then, nobody knew me. And, yeah, we'll try him. So one person, I got in front of 2 lawyers. They liked my work, which became 4, which became 8.
Yeah.
And it multiplied from there. So that's kind of how I got my start.
That's great.
Yeah.
And now Flink ADR, where did that come from?
So that started when I had a couple of people who were interested in joining me and trying to generate some mediation business. 2 women, Lauren Smith and Erica Arena Camarillo, who are both family law attorneys. And they joined up with me. And then Flink ADR really kind of took off when a guy named Chris Brasher decided to retire off the bench in Fulton County. And he decided that he wanted to join forces with me and do mediation arbitration work. And then Flink ADR sort of mushroomed from there. And now we've got myself included. There's 6 of us that mediate, arbitrate, do ADR services. We're actually adding a 7th person in a couple of weeks who's a senior judge.
Are you allowed to say who it is?
I'm going to have to wait on that for a minute.
Oh, stay tuned.
Yeah, and so we bill ourselves, or we try to promote ourselves as the only family law ADR firm in the city. There are a lot of mediators, very, very good ones. I believe you had an excellent mediator on the show a few weeks ago,
Yes.
Mr. Tesser, who I have the utmost respect for. There's a lot of mediators out there, all individuals, so we try to make it easier to book. Hopefully you'll find the right service, you'll find the right date, and we can make it easier for you to have to, instead of going to individual people and trying to book a case.
Would you agree with this? Sometimes people say, well, I want the best mediator, and my answer is twofold. It's like, well, the best mediator is the best mediator for your case. And secondly, I'm not going to say there's a best mediator. I'm going to say there's a band. There's an echelon, a top tier of good mediators, and you want somebody in that group who then is best tailored for your case.
Right.
Would you agree with that?
Yeah, and I think that 20% of the mediators have 80% of the business in the city.
Interesting.
Yeah.
Well, and for me, and we've talked about this on previous episodes, when I look at a case, I look at like the personality of the clients. The attorneys, when I think about, okay, who would be a good fit for this case with mediation?
Oh, yeah. I mean, you've got to pick the right person.
Yeah.
And you've got to make sure that, and Steve, you said this on an earlier podcast, that what we're trained to do and what we should do are 2 completely different things.
Yeah, and I couldn't, I said it, I couldn't agree more with what I said before. I like that.
Have you ever disagreed with what you've said, Steve?
Don't.
No, but many other people have. But wait. But I know we've talked about it on a previous episode, but explain what you mean by that.
Okay, so a mediator who's not willing to offer an opinion is a mediator looking for mediations. All right, you don't want somebody to carry an offer from one room to the other, put down a piece of paper, and say, "Here, this is what they want to do."
Right, because
Tell
I've
us
got
what you
that
wanna do.
already. That's Outlook.
Right.
Well, frankly, there's a great hamburger restaurant in Kansas City where they have these train tracks built into the ceiling, and the train goes by and it drops the
cool.
food down. I forget what it's called. Everybody from Kansas City knows. A mediator who just passes that back and forth, I could just put that train track in the office, just have the train go back and forth and drop the answer and response.
That's kind of a random analogy, but I'll accept
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
I'll
It
accept
works.
So you're better than that.
Good job.
No, you want. Thank you very much. You want to. Well, listen. I have my own style, and I try to help lawyers get to the point. I try to help lawyers not have to over prepare for mediation. I feel like within the first hour or so, I have a pretty good sense of where this thing's going and what needs to be done.
Yeah.
But it's a crapshoot. I mean, there are cases, one from the prior week, where one side was overly prepared and made it very easy, and the other side really wasn't willing to make an offer for about 3.5 hours.
Oh my God.
Because
So there's this crazy imbalance, and you never know what you're going to walk into. So I have to kind of take it by the reins and say, okay, look, we're not here to do discovery. We're here to try to move towards a settlement or an agreement. And if you're not prepared to do that, that's fine. That's fine. But there's just always unknowns. But you have to, as a good mediator, I think you have to figure out, okay, how do we get these people from he's here, she's here, we got to get him here. How do we get him here?
Right.
And after 4 hours or so, I'll finally say, all right, if you guys want to get this case resolved, here's what I think you need to consider.
You want to
And I
break
give
it
my
up.
proposal.
Give them like a dynamite charge. Here's
Yeah,
a-
yeah.
Now, you mediate. Do you also do this thing, what's it called, Jimmy?
Arbitration.
Arbitration.
I've heard of that, actually.
Tell us about that.
Okay. So, listen, mediation and arbitration are both ADR, alternative dispute resolution services. Arbitration basically is what I call court light. It is an arbitrator acts as a judge. It's much more informal than the court. It's obviously easier to get a case resolved through arbitration more efficiently and quicker than the court system. I don't know. Disclosure, I'm not an attorney, so I've never tried a case, so I don't know how many cases, if you filed a case and say, Fulton County today, when do you think you would be heard on a final trial?
You're asking me that?
I'm asking all of you.
Probably a good 6 months or more.
Oh, no.
probably
You
more,
filed it. You just filed it to get to a final trial a year.
Okay.
Okay, so it'll take a
Realistically?
year to get to trial.
I don't know how to fast track stuff, but go ahead.
Well,
Wow, look at
no,
you go.
here. Okay, I have one right now that we have basically put on the rails to go as fast as possible. We filed it in March. We have a final hearing set, and now it's also Judge LWB who runs everything very efficiently.
Pretty tight
Just a
ship.
very, very quick disclaimer. Everybody pause. LRB don't play. Go ahead.
Yeah, and we're set for a final
that I've
on,
heard.
on October
That I've heard.
1st.
Right.
And so we're going to
7
have
months, that's
a
pretty
7-month turnaround.
How about that?
But I mean, the bottom line is you could have a case arbitrated within a week,
What's
a couple
the
of weeks,
difference
a month.
between mediation and arbitration?
Well, the mediator is neutral, is
Okay.
not there to make any decisions on behalf of the parties. An arbitrator is there to make decisions on behalf of the parties.
Okay, let's break that down. So does that mean that the arbitrator is playing judge?
Yes.
And does that mean that both parties have to opt into an arbitration, have to agree to do it?
Oh, yes.
And then that you become the judge instead of the judge?
Right. And it also is a very good idea to make sure that the judge that's assigned to your case is aware of the fact that you're going to arbitration and that you have the judge's consent to arbitrate.
So you need the judge's consent to take that away from the judge and give it to the arbitrator.
The lawyers need the judge to consent
Do
to the
most judges
arbitration.
consent?
Yeah,
Are there any judges you've seen that don't?
I've heard.
You've heard.
I've heard.
Okay.
Yeah.
Well, why would a judge consent to this?
Because I think that legally they have to, if I'm not mistaken.
Yeah.
I don't think they can deny arbitration if
Yeah,
parties
you mean
want to
if
arbitrate.
if the parties
Right.
agree.
And wouldn't, from a practical standpoint, a judge is like, well, damn, I've got 1,000 cases on my docket. If you want someone else, you want the Flinkster to do this, more power to you. Get it off my desk.
I would agree with that, and I think
Yeah.
that would be something that any judge would want to reduce their amount of cases that are pending.
Yeah.
But I think you also have the opportunity to have subject matter expertise. So, for example, if it was my background is I was involved in a family business really since the day I was born until, 2006 or so.
We covered that, the gap, right?
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. I think it might be PAG though. I think it was the other brand. It was PAG, not GAP.
Okay.
Was the company there.
If you say so.
So if it is a case where there's a family business or a closely held business, I would think that I'd be a pretty good candidate to arbitrate that case. Not to say that a judge wouldn't be the right person to make the decisions, but depending upon what's involved, it might make a lot of sense to
Sure.
have subject matter expertise
Let
arbitrate
me-
your case.
Let me get blunt here, and I could almost quote my family law professor from law school, Jim McGinnis. I could almost quote him because I think I remember from 20 years ago him saying, "Yeah, so many of these judges are former DAs." Okay, I think those were his words. And lo and behold, 20 years later, he's right. More often than not, a judge is going to come out of criminal prosecution. Not that career prosecutors don't make great judges and aren't really smart, but they're not necessarily always people with small business experience or family business experience, not always. So what you're saying, if I hear you, is that you have deep business and family business experience that might make you good for a divorce case where we're talking about a family business.
Right.
Okay.
And there's also, I think, the preservation of the family. If judges are former prosecutors and are kind of coming from the criminal side, I think there's a very big difference between that and family law, right?
Yeah.
I think as stewards we have to do our best to preserve the family and not, I guess, for lack of a better term, injure the kids in the process. But let me say this: as far as arbitration is concerned. When Judge Brasher was on the bench in family division in Fulton, I met him because I was doing on-site mediation. Back then, they had mediators who would go upstairs and take cases from the JO, judicial officer, parties that didn't really have a whole lot, to spend on attorneys or just needed a parenting plan, and we would help them with that. And I got to know Judge Brasher really well, and I think you can maybe agree with this that he had an incredible reputation as someone who was very efficient on the bench, fair, smart, and did very well. So when he stepped off the bench, many people were, geez, it would really be nice to have him back on the bench. Well, technically, as an arbitrator with Flink ADR, he's back on the bench.
Tell me a little bit more about arbitration. Do you walk into a courtroom and do you wear a robe? Are there rules of evidence?
I'd like to wear a robe. I would, but I don't think it'd be appropriate. Maybe a wig. Actually, somebody bought me a wig for an arbitration. Yeah.
Okay.
If I use you as an arbitrator, will you wear that wig, the barrister's
So long
wig?
as opposing counsel's okay with that, Steve,
Is
I'll
that
be
right?
happy to do that. Yeah.
Well, let me ask you this: Do you have a conversation with attorneys before the arbitration and say, are we just going to air everything out, or are we going to use formal rules of evidence?
Rules of evidence are very relaxed.
Do they have to be?
They don't have to be, but I think that's part of the allure of arbitration is that you can ask the arbitrator to admit certain things that may not necessarily be admitted in a court of law.
Let me stop you there. What if I want to use an arbitrator because I can't get in front of the county judge for a year, so I want to speed it up, but I want formal rules of evidence because I think they'll favor my case? Can I say to my arbitrator, I want you to, and Judge Brasher would be a good example because he is a lawyer and he's been a judge. Could I say, Judge, I want you as an arbitrator, but I want you to use formal rules of evidence wherever the chips fall. I want you to do that. Could I do that?
I mean, I don't see why not. I think that part of the issue with that would be how does your opposing counsel feel about that?
Right. I understand. I
Right.
understand that we have to consent. I get that.
Sure.
Okay.
Sure.
Yeah, because the whole process of arbitration, the parties can only do it if both sides agree.
But
And
I'm a
so-
persuasive guy.
Well, and so I've seen, because arbitration is becoming much more common, and I've seen different methods of arbitration, if you will. In fact, you and I had an arbitration last year, and we pretty much followed pretty strict
Yeah.
rules of evidence in that arbitration. Now, I've had other arbitrations, and explain this. I think they're calling it In-Caucus arbitration.
I had one of those a
Which
couple
is-
of weeks
which
ago, so I have a
is-
few thoughts.
Yeah, which is way more informal. Explain what that is and what your thoughts are on that.
So my personal feeling about arbitrations in caucus are that they can, at least for me,
Well,
they can
first
be.
of all, explain.
Yeah,
for
what
those
is it?
folks
Okay,
that-
so
what it
so
is.
think about a courtroom where you've got the petitioner and their attorney and the respondent and their attorney, and then you've got the arbitrator. And it could be in a conference room, basically, where everybody's together, and it's like a courtroom, except it's much more informal. And that's when it's basically what I call a joint session. When you do an arbitration in caucus, that's when you've got party A and their attorney in one room, party B and their attorney in the other room, and the arbitrator goes back and forth between the rooms. Mm-hmm. So to me, I'm great for the first 4 or 5 hours as a mediator, but then my notes kind of get all over the place. So I worry that I'm going to not bring information from one room to the other efficiently, or I may forget something, or I may leave a word out, or I may not think that was as important as it was to the party who wanted me to convey the information. So I don't love that, but I will tell you that the cure for doing arbitrations in caucus is to do it virtually, do it by Zoom, because that way you can have everybody on the screen, but like the party A doesn't have to see party B. And that's usually why they want to do it in caucus, is because they can't be in the same room together.
And if you do it by Zoom, you don't got to wear pants.
That's true.
Yeah.
That's very true.
Jimmy, what do you think about that?
The pants or in-caucus arbitration?
I just sometimes wish that when those little thoughts pop up, you just grab them.
I always think that parties that have
not let them come out.
their cameras that they have like their mute, all you can see is their face, but you can't see anything behind them.
They have a background.
Yeah, I think that's because they're not wearing pants.
Oh.
I never trust them.
I participated in an arbitration in caucus. I was not a party. I was not the litigator. I was an expert witness. And they did it in caucus. And I actually asked the attorney, and I said, why? And she told me, look, both attorneys agreed that both parties would make terrible witnesses. So we just decided just to do this in caucus.
That's another good reason, actually.
Which I thought was interesting, and it does make you think about, sometimes some of your clients, and also we have a lot of clients that the prospect of going to court and even arbitration, which is court light, is terrifying for them. So maybe that's an option.
Well, and look, the bottom line is what is going to most efficiently resolve the case, no matter what the process is. So if the lawyers
Fair.
don't think that the parties would make good witnesses, and they want to do it in caucus, that's fine. Or one party says, listen, I do not want to do a joint session. I want to do this in caucus. One side says that, you kind of have to honor that as an arbitrator.
What's the funniest thing that's happened to you during a mediation or arbitration?
I was trying to prepare for this question. I was trying to think.
Did you
what
know
it
I
would
would
be.
ask it?
I had a feeling. The funniest thing that's happened.
Because we like funny stories. That's true.
Wow. Let me think about this for a second. They all sort of meld together.
While you're thinking about it, is it okay if Jimmy and I play tic-tac-toe on your sports?
Absolutely. Probably one of, I don't know if this is funny, Steve, but it's a case that you and I had.
We did. Oh, let me brace myself.
Where the client was incarcerated, and we had to get in touch with the client at a certain time, and the client was, and we were unable to get in touch with the client, so eventually were able to get in touch with the client.
Yeah, we need to be careful about protecting confidentiality and
course.
things like that. We were able to finally get in touch with the client. We did it was a mediation, wasn't it?
Yes.
And yeah, that was a difficult case. He was and is currently incarcerated
In the jailio.
in the big house.
Yeah, but I feel like being back in this building, it reminds me of cases that we've had, and there are a lot. When I say funny things, if I have a case with Patty, Steve will barge into the mediation
Absolutely.
unannounced.
Like Kramer and Seinfeld.
Basically, right. Ask, is everybody okay? Does anybody need anything? What's going on?
Yeah,
and
he's
just
not really going
does
to get you
small talk.
anything.
No.
He just wants to know if you need anything.
Right. And I've actually won money betting lawyers. Like, I'll bet you $10 that Steve's going to barge into this room at some point today.
And they're
And you're
actually
on.
dumb enough to take that bet.
Well, Steve and I actually split the
You split
$10.
the proceeds.
Yeah, we did.
Okay, I can
We got that
say
worked out.
very clearly that Andy Flink has never handed me $1. That's true. It's been the other way around. Jimmy,
I
what's
have
the
outfitted your men's room though with a few things.
I think I have
as well as the room in the back.
yes, the room in the back, and I will say that we have
What room in the
a
back?
hallway.
Exactly.
We have a hallway at Shewmaker and Lewis of
We have
photos.
a couple hallways.
Yes, but we have a specific hallway filled with photos of family and friends, and you're framed on the wall there.
I'm honored.
And we got to get Pat and Eric Eccles that are listening to this. We got to get them on the wall. What's the funniest mediation story you've had with Jimmy?
Jimmy, you and I had a case up in an office in Cumming. I'm trying to remember. I think one of the clients was about 90 years old. Does it ring a bell?
Wow. The mediator remembers
I have a lot of
it,
I have a lot of
You
cases.
have a lot of 90-year-old clients?
Yeah, a lot of octogenarians, and I don't know what it is for 90.
Jimmy seems to attract them, I guess.
It begs the question: who's more senile, Jimmy or his clients?
Exactly.
I just don't know. Yeah.
I don't want to answer
Well, no,
that.
and see, one thing that I do love about Andy for cases where it's very money centric is, it's not uncommon that lawyers who have become mediators and lawyers in general in the family law world are not very good at math. That's not a secret. But I can sit and rattle off a ton of stuff in a marital balance sheet or in a DERFA, in a child support worksheet, and talk about, here, we're going to divide the retirement this way, we're going to divide the house this way, do all of this. And he doesn't miss a beat.
Yeah.
Well, I know we're getting off track, kind of going back and forth between mediation and arbitration, but I will tell you that a marital balance sheet to me is sort of the basics of equitable division. I just don't know how you can mediate a case that requires input on equitable division and not have a balance sheet. And it's not a trick, but you create the sheet, and if the parties agree to this is the number that is subject to division, then all you have to do is take that and cut and paste it. And you can start to see, how far were we $200,000 apart? Now we're $110,000 apart. So you kind of bridge that gap, and you can visually show the clients and the lawyers. And I'm happy to do all that work. I mean, that's sort of, I'm going to say fun to me, but I've always been a math guy.
Yeah.
and if you think
you definitely like your marital balance sheets.
Oh yeah. And if you think about cases where, for example, they're getting divorced, but there are no minor children, it's all money, it's all financial, it's all math.
That's right. That's
Yeah.
what it is.
Yeah. Now, here, let's kind of bring in mediation and arbitration together. What tips do you have for attorneys for either of those processes before going into them?
Okay, so I'll answer that in three parts. The first part is there is a process called Med-Arb, where parties and counsel would agree to, we're going to mediate for a certain period of time, perhaps. And then if we're unable to reach a resolution on all the issues, whatever issues we have not resolved, we'll submit to the mediator to arbitrate. Okay, you have to be a little careful with that, but,
And
but
you have,
it is.
do you have to be a certified trained arbitrator to do that?
I don't know the answer to that question.
But you're an arbitrator. You're
Yes,
certified.
yes,
on that.
I'm registered as an arbitrator.
Okay.
In the state, but Uncle Joe can mediate your case if you want an Uncle Joe to mediate your case. I'm not sure that
Yeah,
you
as
need
long
to
as it's
be.
not court ordered, remember?
Yeah.
You know what's worse than Uncle Joe mediating your case? Me.
I heard you're a mediator.
Yeah, but the difference is you are a mediator and arbitrator, and that is all that you do. I still litigate
Sure.
and don't intend to stop. So my mediations are going to be 1-2 days a month on a day I have a leave of absence scheduled, so that no court can say you're coming to court that day and then I got to call 2 attorneys and cancel something. So I generally try not to mediate unless I have a leave date in. So I maybe do 1-2 mediations a month. And I don't really intend to change that. But as you said, 80% of the mediations are handled by 20% of the guys out there. That's all you guys do.
Guys or gals.
Yeah, guys or girls. That's right.
Right.
That's all y'all do. And so yeah, I haven't gotten the certification for arbitration yet. But I like that idea, because what I don't like is when I'm mediating a case and it gets to around 5-6 hours and I can tell no one's gonna budge, and I would love to be able to turn the tables and go, okay, I've heard all the evidence and here's what we're gonna do, y'all.
Yeah,
I
and
would
it's
love
usually at that 5 or 6 hour mark. They're close, they're within spitting distance. But at that point, people have started to, become entrenched in their positions and dug in.
Which is why we don't let them be in the same room, because they'll spit on each other.
Well, and Andy, I was going to say, sometimes we have to explain Nebraska phrases to people.
Everybody knows what within spitting distance means, Jimmy. I mean, it literally means within spitting distance. Like you and I right now, we are within spitting distance. So I would just be careful.
So to answer your question about what I would expect lawyers to,
Thank you, Andy.
to be able to know as far as mediation is concerned, obviously prepare your client, prepare your information, prepare what your positions are going to be. You're going to have to jockey around, and because you may or may not know what the other side is thinking. Or
Would you agree there's a difference between a prepared attorney who's prepared for mediation or arbitration that's different than an attorney who has not or has prepared his client? Those are two different things.
they are two different things, for sure.
Do you find attorneys have not prepared either themselves or their clients? I'm not asking you to name names. I wouldn't do that.
Sure. Yeah, of course.
And you can probably spot that pretty quickly.
Oh, yeah.
Yeah.
Well, and to me, I think the most important information that I want is if there is an issue with client control. If I'm mediating with you and your client is being difficult and not listening or not letting you advise them, pull me aside and say, hey, Andy, you know what? This might be a tough day because I cannot get my client to hear me. That way I have a dynamic in my mind. I understand what I might need to do in order to move him off of that or her off of that position.
Well, who do you find is generally better, Jimmy or his wife Alexa?
That's not even a question.
I know.
And Andy, for
And
your
Jimmy already knows the answer to that question.
for
So
your own physical safety, and answer the way you know to answer.
Fair enough. I just think you're one of the best mediators and arbitrators out there. I do.
Agreed.
Which means I'd put you in that top echelon with very few other people. So it's just been such an honor to have you here, hasn't it,
But
Jimmy?
more importantly, what's your favorite movie?
Oh, yeah.
right now it's probably
It changes like you're in
what's-
ninth grade?
And just to be clear,
What movie-
there are wrong answers here.
Yeah. Waterworld is not acceptable.
how about Ishtar?
That's even worse.
Remember Gene Shalit? Remember what Gene Shalit said about Ishtar?
I don't
He
remember
said
what he said.
Ishtar is horrible.
No, but in all, that's funny, and I am old enough to remember Ishtar. Question is
I'm
this:
not.
what is? Yes, we know that, Jimmy. What is your favorite movie?
Oh, probably The Godfather.
The original.
Part one.
The original part one, yeah.
Very good.
Yeah.
I don't know if you were in here earlier. Which is better, the original Magnum or Simon and Simon?
Magnum, or as in like Magnum PI?
Yes.
Yeah.
Oh, Tom Selleck?
Yes. What'd you think of some
Versus-
Magnum
He was-
condom?
listen.
But versus Simon, you remember Simon and Simon?
I don't remember Simon and
You don't
Simon.
remember Rick and AJ? Okay. Well, then
No.
so you like you're a fan of the original Magnum.
As opposed to the new Magnum?
Well, that's an easy one.
Well, what about Friends?
That's not a good
Friends
one.
don't let friends watch the new Magnum.
No. What I mean is, so Magnum PI was Tom Selleck.
Yes.
Right? Tom Selleck was also in Friends.
Magnum
I
PI.
thought he was better in Magnum PI than he was in Friends.
Well,
Magnum
of
PI
course.
is Tom
Of
Selleck,
course.
and Tom Selleck is Magnum PI, and that will never change.
Correct.
Okay.
That's like, what were the other shows in that genre back then?
Falcon
$6 Million
Crest?
Man.
No,
that
no,
was-
$6
that
Million
was
Man
earliest.
was at least 10 years before
Yeah.
Malcolm. You're
Well, I'm 10 years older than you, so
are you?
yes.
I'll be 57 this month.
I'll be 66 in October.
No way.
Way.
Really?
Yeah. Way.
You know, you remind me of Higgins. Even people in the back are laughing right now. Do you hear that?
There's all 100 people are laughing. at
Good
you.
thing that all the guns are over there and none of them are
Right,
over here.
right,
Right,
right.
Jimmy? Okay.
I thought I
Well,
saw a sign walking in that said no
It's
weapons.
also before we close is we also need to make sure we get a shout out to Andy's lovely wife Sherry,
Absolutely.
who we love and
Great,
adore.
great lady.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
and 4 boys, right?
Five.
5 boys.
Five boys. Yeah, 5 boys.
Yeah, crazy. All right. Well, did we cover?
Thank you. Oh, thank you very much for the opportunity to speak with you guys. I've
course.
listened to all of your podcasts.
Oh, look at you.
And they're terrific. I actually was in the middle of an acupuncture session yesterday and listened to one and fell asleep.
Thanks.
I don't even know how to take that.
That means that you
Wow.
have listened to.
That must have been the.
Hey,
No, it
Well,
was actually a repeat. I'd already heard it.
It must
but
have been the
I-
parenting time adjustment.
Probably,
one.
probably. But that means that you have listened to a lot more than all of our associates have.
Yes. I'll tell
I
you
just
what.
want to stay in your good graces.
Well,
Fair.
we want to stay in yours. The bottom line is anybody who wants to talk about mediation and arbitration should definitely keep you in mind.
Yeah,
Absolutely.
please do. And I appreciate it
Yeah,
very
Flink
much.
ADR, Flink Daddy, Flinkster, Flinkmeister.
The Sultan of Flinkiness.
Flink
There will be a
Cleanness.
link to Flink ADR in the show notes below.
All right.
Thank you.
Thanks, Andy.
Thank you, guys.
Flink
Peace.
Daddy.
Peace out, Girl Scouts.